is your Coach Renz. Welcome to a live event. You know, I just throw them out there whenever I get an opportunity to do it. We are going to start doing more live events more often. And by the way, if you're not a subscriber to my channel, please hit the subscribe button and subscribe because we do giveaways now. We just had a Yolanda McMillan. She won the giveaway currently for a 10-pack of popcorn from Uncle Ren's Popcorn, which is a company I own. But our next giveaway is for these bracelets. Now, if you want to win one of these bracelets, you got to type the word bracelet in the comment section. On a live video, not exactly sure how that's going to work. Hey, Serena, how you doing? But definitely subscribe to this channel. I appreciate you, Serena. Serena's already joined us. Other people join us. Please, when you join in, let me know. Let me know who you are, where you at. Uh-oh, what's up? Atlanta Swords? Hometown. That's what's up. I'm in Atlanta. That's where I live. I abode for right now. I'm from here. But we're going to be talking about, just to go ahead for anybody who's watching this later, this video, this live chat, North Carolina, throw your hands up. Remember that song? But take your shirt off, wave it in the air like a helicopter. Oh, you up in Gwinnett. Whew, all that traffic. Whew, I can never live in Gwinnett. It is too much traffic going up into Gwinnett. Couldn't live there. But we're going to be talking about today in this live chat. So y'all get ready. What we're going to talk about today, tune in from Cleveland. What's up? Hey, Michelle, how you doing? Close to work. Yeah, that's the only way I live in Gwinnett, if I'm working close there. Because if y'all move to Atlanta, let me tell y'all something. Unless you work in Gwinnett, don't live in Gwinnett. And you got to drive south or north. You got to drive south on that dang on highway on 85. Don't you believe it. Don't do it. I don't care how cheap. I don't care what kind of value you can get on a home. But anyway, so today we're going to be talking about, because it was an interesting question that was posed to me, that was sent. I don't know, it wasn't really posed to me. It was a statement, actually. And that statement was simply that slavery, that other than Christianity, slavery is the worst thing that ever happened to black people, black Americans, they specifically said. But I want to look at the grander scope of the whole thing. Which has been worse to black people around the world? Has it been slavery or has it been religion? Which one has been more detrimental? And we're going to break these things down. And I definitely look forward to you guys' comments and questions and conversation. I don't know how long we're going to do this because I got some things that I want to go do today. But because I got to go to Marietta. But we're going to talk about this. I want to go ahead and start this out by talking about a video that I saw. While I was doing research for this subject over the last like 5 days, there was a video I saw. There's this pastor, black pastor. He was preaching on the fact that people are black people are confusing religion and slavery and Christianity. And he was speaking on how the type of slavery, that God never approved slavery. And that Jesus never approved slavery. And I'm going to tell you guys why that's a falsehood. But he was saying that the chattel slavery that happened in America is not the approved type slavery that happened in the Bible. Yes, he said first it was not approved, then he said it is approved. But it's not the approved type slavery, and therefore those who committed those slaveries will have to pay for it, right? And that we should stop thinking about it in that format, that Christianity and American slavery go hand in hand. Well, I thought it was absurd of what he said because he left out a few things, and then he says one thing that just devalued his entire concept. You see, many people, when they're in that position and they're talking about, and I'm glad only 331 people actually saw that video so far, and it's over a year old. I hope no one else sees it because it's a bunch of malarkey. I always put it that way. And he's a preacher. He's in Texas somewhere. Actually, he's in Dallas, Texas, now that I think about it. But here's the thing about that statement. Anytime somebody makes that statement, what makes me cringe about it is that the last part of his statement, he said that after 6 years, in the year of Jubilee, that all slave owners are to release their slaves, right? That's what he said. And that's one of the main reasons why he said the chattel slavery of America was a falsity, that it wasn't the same. He also said that the Bible strictly forbids you stealing someone from their land and making them slaves. He said that as well. But I can show you where the Bible, actually, I'm not going to show you. You go find it yourself because you know how I am. I believe that you guys should go do your own research, right? So that's why I don't tell you guys where I get stuff from. Or I give you I'm just telling you it's in the Bible. It's Old Testament, New Testament. And if you know, go ahead and say so. But then he says that you're not supposed to go conquer that. That's punishable by death. See, they pick and choose. All right. Hey, Voice of Reason, how you doing? They pick and choose exactly what they want. Now they'll claim other people can't pick and choose. They'll claim other people are taking things out of context, but we're going to look at it for exactly what it is. Now, here's the thing. First, let me destroy the idea that he said of every 6 years you're supposed to release your slaves, otherwise you are going against the Bible. What he failed to say, or maybe failed to even realize or know, is that in that aspect, the Bible was only talking about those Israelites who enslaved their own people. They like to use the term servant there. Well, we're going to get to that word in a minute. But they say that those Israelites that the Israelites supposed to let go of their own people, but it only referred to the Israelites who enslaved their own people. Their own people. But whereas right before that statement, it actually says, and it's Yahweh speaking, that you are authorized to enslave the people, the foreigners who live amongst you. You are also authorized to enslave the foreigners of the lands that you conquer. You see, he failed to realize it because he wants to make, oh, thank you, Atlanta Sword. I appreciate that. I appreciate that super chat. And when you do a super chat, throw a comment on there so I want to recognize you even more so. So they failed to teach you that same piece of scripture. See, they say we take it out of context, right? That same piece of scripture also says that, hey, go conquer other foreign lands and you can make them slaves. If the foreigners are living amongst you, you can make them slaves. But it says that you can make them slaves for all eternity, as long as they live, that they're your property. It says your property, which is another reason why when they say the word servant, they try to say, oh, it's not slavery, it's being a servant, servitude. No, it says it makes them your property. And you can pass that property down to your children, and that their children are born into slavery. They become slaves as well. So they misteach this idea of this jubilee, and because the white Americans, oh, thank you, I appreciate you too, because the people in America who enslaved people, because I'm not just going to say white American, because there were some black Americans who enslaved in America, and there were some Native Americans who enslaved people. Matter of fact, I forget the tribe, but there was one tribe up in the Midwest. The only reason they were admitted into the United States is they had to give up their slaves. They had black slaves. So not all slave owners were white, but the overwhelming majority were white European slave owners. But here's the thing. They'll say that it was Jubilee. So that's a falsehood. We understand that that's wrong, that's a misteaching, that's only teaching a portion of it. But now the Hebrew Israelite will say, yeah, see, we Hebrew Israelite, and we only supposed to keep our own people. Cherokee is one of those tribes. But it's not the Cherokee. It's another one that's way up in the Midwest, like Chicago, Illinois area. Maybe it's the Iroquois, something like that. I can't remember. Somebody else is going to tell me later. But Google it. Don Cheadle's family actually comes from that tribe. Because I saw that on a thing about him some time ago, and that's what made me go research it. But the thing about it is, what we have to understand is that that's the first part that they're messing up. Then it does say you are property. It also talks about that if a slave owner has that you're supposed to let go that slavery, you release the men, but you can keep the women. That if a man sells his daughter, it might be the Sioux Indians. It might have been. But matter of fact, I believe it was the Sioux Indians. I believe it was the Sioux Indians. So all Native Americans ain't your brother, just to let you know. That's why it is so hard. If you're a black American and you look like me, but if I trace my family, especially with my children, with my kids, because of their grandfather on their mother's side, who's dang near full blood Native American, my kids have enough in their bloodstream to qualify. But do you know how hard they will fight to keep my kids out? How hard they have been fighting to keep my kids out? And they have enough in them to actually get there, right? So, the ghost is in town. He said religion is far worse thing that has ever happened to us. And we're going to get there. We're going to get there. We're going to talk about both. So first talking about slavery, right? So, and we want to dispel the religious aspects of it. Now, the thing about it is, it also says that if you have a daughter and you sell that daughter into slavery, and that daughter is supposed to be released, well, the daughters can be kept, but the sons must be released. See how it's misogynistic. But it also teaches that if you have a daughter and she's supposed to be released, but she has a child by the slave owner, that the child remains a slave in perpetuity. It talks about that if you have a child, that if you have a slave and if you beat that slave, if you kill the slave, then you're to be punished. But if you And see, he made a statement that you're not even supposed to knock a tooth out of your slave, that's punishment. But it says then that if you beat the slave and the slave does not die and recovers after a few days, then you're not to be punished. That slave deserved this beating. So in one hand, it's saying if you knock the tooth out of the slave, then you're to be punished. But the other hand, it says that only if the slave dies. I ain't never seen anybody die from getting a tooth knocked out and let the tooth get knocked out, fall down to their throat, and then they choke. And maybe they might die. But so it's confusing, right? It's confusing. And then so he said that he spoke about both of those, and I was like, you're misteaching these people to make them feel like slavery was not, or this type of American slavery is not ordained by God, but other slavery is ordained by God, which is crazy. Here's what's crazy about that. You got God, right? All powerful, all knowing, omniscient, good God, as they say, is good. This God is good. He got laws in there where he says that, hey, it's a sin if you wear clothing that's mixed with two different types of material. Now, some people say that's an allegory for you're not supposed to mix races or mix tribes. But even if it is or is not, the law says don't wear clothes with mixed material. He's concerned about the clothing you wear, but not slavery. Not saying that slavery is a bad thing. Telling women don't put too much jewelry in your hair and all that kind of stuff, right? I'm Mexican, but I'm Blaxican when I watch Coach Renz. All right, mine's free. If you ever come to Atlanta, there's a restaurant called the Blaxican, right? And this brother makes Mexican soul food. So you might like that. But so check out the Blaxican if you're in Atlanta, up in the Alpharetta area, Holcomb Bridge Road. But so the thing about it is, they're you made me lose my track of thought for a second there. But anyhow, it's coming back. It's coming back. Oh, so he's so concerned about women not wearing too much jewelry, right? But doesn't say, hey, how about, no slavery? You look at the 10 Commandments. The first 5 or 6 of them are solely about him. But it said, don't kill, don't steal. More worried about you stealing items than stealing a person's property or stealing a human. More worried about adultery than slavery. More worried about homosexuality than slavery. More worried about you resting on the Sabbath, not taking more than a certain number of steps, than slavery. That if this omniscient God who have seen the course of time, okay, so God is supposed to have known, all things is known. So saw the 400 years of slavery, well, 300 some odd years of slavery, then Jim Crow and all that. Saw all that in America, saw all the suffering, the pain. Oh, thank you, Voice of Reason. Keep it up, Coach. I want to patronize your business soon, too. Hey, Uncle Ren's Popcorn, appreciate it. Coach Ren's, and also My Naturally Pure. So you see this smoothness, see this good looking skin? I didn't scrub today, I scrubbed yesterday. But coffee scrub, man, keeping that youthful exuberance. But anyway, so he's so concerned. Now think about it, you as a human, if you were making laws for everybody on the planet, right? You're making laws for everybody on the planet. Would you, and slavery exists, or that in time slavery exists. You're omniscient. You see what black people go through in America. You see what Africans go through. You see, and here's the thing. In Africa, people from India was brought over to be slaves in Africa. That's why there's such a large population. That's one of the reasons. I ain't gonna say that is. That's one of the reasons there's such a large population of Indians in Africa, because they were brought over as slaves, especially in Zimbabwe. They were brought over as slaves, right? So you had all this slavery going on. Even in the Europeans, they enslaved them. The Romans had slaves. They enslaved themselves. They enslaved other cultures, other people who were Caucasian as well. Slavery just running rampant all over the world. You had slavery, and you're God, and you're making rules. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, thou shalt not cover thy neighbor's property, thou shalt take the Sabbath day and rest it and keep it holy, thou shalt honor their mother and their father. But not a word. But then on slavery, you said, well, let me just give you some rules about it. If you're Israelite, don't enslave each other. If you owe each other a debt and you enslave each other, we're going to call that servitude. Then just do it for 6 years, and then whatever debt's remaining, let them be free. But if you see some foreigners, you can enslave them. And you can enslave them forever. Now, if you beat them, just make sure that they can get up after a few days. All right, don't kill them. We want to be a little humane, but not as humane as to not have slaves. So here's that. So that's what he was teaching. That's what this pastor was teaching. That's what many pastors teach. They'll teach that American slavery was not the same type, but it says that if you can go and conquer foreigners, you can keep foreigners. This is why the Europeans felt like it was their divine right to go and conquer these people, these Africans, these Asians, these people, and take them as slaves. That if you don't want to maintain a relationship, you don't, like the Chinese weren't playing that nonsense. You're gonna trade with us, and that's about all you're gonna do. But the people in India, they was like, the British Empire comes over, and it was like, we're the Great Britain, and we're taking over, and because we're great. And the Indians like, well, okay. But they just enslaved them. They just took what they wanted. But they believed that they had the right to do so because the Bible told them that they can. And that's why they believed that. Now, they did indentured servitude amongst themselves. If you were Irish, you wanted to come over, you can become an indentured servant. If you were French, if you was German, you want to come over, you can be an indentured servant. So they did indentured servitude amongst themselves, but they did chattel slavery for everybody else because you were considered a foreigner. And they also later on, of course, the doctrine migrated to you were even soulless. So they can treat you any kind of way, right? So when they teach that slavery, the American slavery is not the same, that's a bold-faced lie. That's, or as we like to say, that is cognitive dissonance, because it is authorized under the Bible. And I want to hit a point, and I need you guys to really, really hone in on this part, right? Really, I mean, come on, just turn it on real quick, because this came to me, over me, while I was working on this thought process. They'll say that Jesus didn't speak against slavery. He didn't speak for slavery. Now, all the other writings about slavery in the New Testament are written by Paul or somebody else. Slaves, be good to your masters. Obey your masters that you would obey, whether they're good or bad, harsh, punish you, whatever. That's written by Paul and all those people. So they'll say, oh, Paul wrote that, as if it matters. I mean, it's supposed to be the word of God, right? Now, they say Jesus didn't say anything about slavery. And some people would try to go into where he didn't say anything against it, and they would try to argue just the parts that they attributed to Jesus. But there's a thought process that I want you guys, and if I'm crazy, tell me I'm crazy. But I want you guys to think about this with me, okay? You ready? You ready? You ready? You ready? You ready? All right, let's go. Here it is. According to a Christian, in order to be Christian, and according to the Bible, it says that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And through that Word, everything came into existence. So according to a Christian, Jesus was with God at the beginning, has always been with God, and is the Word of God. When Genesis occurred, the Word spoke everything into existence. That when the prophets and the old people in the Bible, they heard from God. They heard from the Word of God. Moses on the mountain, he didn't have a vision of God. He had the Word, spoke to him. You're on hallowed ground. Take off your shoes. Go and tell Pharaoh, let my people go. He heard the Word of God, right? So they say that you're hearing the Word of God. When Josaphat, I think is how you say his name, was like, look, God, I need your help. Beat these people. You helped other people. I just need you to help me. And, whoever comes to my house, out of my house first, that's who I'm going to sacrifice to you, which would turn out to be his daughter, human sacrifice. Thought that was kind of against the Bible, but I guess not. So it was the Word of God. It was God's voice that was spoken to the people. And according to Christians, Jesus is the Word of God. So, if Jesus has been with God from the beginning, then every word that was spoken to say this is how you keep your slaves, that you can get foreign slaves and keep them. If that was the Word speaking to the people, then that was Jesus. If the Bible is the Word of God, Old Testament, New Testament, that is Jesus. If Jesus and God are one and the same, that is Jesus speaking, saying that slavery is okay. That making your daughter who was raped by this dude marry the dude that raped her is okay. That's the Word of God. That's Jesus giving approval. And Jesus said also, according to the writings, it says that Jesus said, I come not to take one tittle, meaning one mark, one word, one letter from the Bible, from Scripture, from Old Testament. So if he didn't come to take nothing away from it, and if he is the Word of it, and that's what he spoke, and if he was speaking, if the speaking to the people in the Old Testament was Jesus speaking, since he's the Word, then does that not mean that Jesus spoke and said slavery is good to go? Which is why in the New Testament, he does not say anything negative about slavery. And people just extrapolate things. Now tell me if I'm crazy on that one. Tell me if I'm crazy. The simplest thing is, if Jesus is the Word, and the Word was speaking in the Old Testament, then that Word said that slavery is okay. Because that's what the belief says. That's what the religion says. So, anybody who wants to say that Jesus didn't say it, for anybody who deals with that, that's, to me and my study, for what I understand from just reading it, and just reading it, taking in their facts, not mine, their facts, coming to an understanding of their facts, and then applying their facts to what they say. When you apply their own facts to it, it leads to the point of Jesus is cool with slavery. Matter of fact, gave rules for it, right? And Jesus obeyed his Father who said those things, right? Exactly. There you go, Chad. So here's the thing. I'm sorry, I need some coffee. That's some good stuff. But, so slavery versus religion. Now let's look at religion. We see how religion makes people feel like God has ordained their slavery, has ordained the way they treat slaves, ordained who they take as slaves, how they live with those slaves, and what they do with those slaves. Religion ordains that, right? Religion ordains. How you doing? Hi, it's Nikki. Hey, Nikki, how you doing? So we see how it ordains it. So slavery. Now let's talk about slavery. Before Christianity, Judaism, or Islam, slavery was already in existence. The Romans had slavery before they became Christians. The Greeks had slavery. The Sumerians had slavery. Everybody, even Africans, they had slavery. Everybody around the world had some form of slavery, right? Where could they have possibly gotten that idea of slavery in a non-religious format? You may ask that question. Well, currently, the oldest writings that we have that involves anything dealing with slavery is part of the Anunnaki story. Part of the Sumerian story talking about the Anunnaki. Now, in a brief, but there's a ton of detail I'm not going to talk about, but in a brief understanding of it, according to the Sumerian story, when the Anunnaki, when Enki, Ninharsag, and Enki's son, I keep forgetting that dude's name, convinced Anu and Enlil to be able to take the hominid man and infuse their gene pool into the hominid woman and made 16 variations of man, each getting better and better and better and closer to the state of Anunnaki. Once they got to a certain level, which would be your Adam and Titi, or Adam and Eve for Christians, got to that level, they then said, okay, this is the best version. And they sent them to go work for the Anunnaki up in Idan in the Chaldean area. When they went up there to work for the Anunnaki, the Akkadian and Sumerian word for work for the Anunnaki is the word that translates into worship. So to them, worship means to work for the Anunnaki, work for the gods, right? Now you had Adam and Titi, who had Cain and Abel. Below that group, let's say they're version 16. You have version 15, version 14, version 13, and so on and so forth. These had less Anunnaki genes. The ones who had the most Anunnaki gene was given the higher positions. And they got to work, they had to do more work than the ones that are higher. So they worked harder and were below. It's kind of like a caste system that they had in many cultures, like in India, had a caste system based on how much Anunnaki genes you had. Fast forward, go through a bunch of wars, go through a bunch of problems, humans rebelling, bloodlines being, mixed up between the different caste systems, which is why if you look at the caste system, they talk about how far you can go. If you're a Brahmin or you're a Vedic, you gotta go certain, you can only go down. Well, it's not Vedic, Vudras or something like that. You can only go so far, right? So they had this whole caste system. These people worked for, the lower you were, the more you had to work. That eventually became slavery. Right? There's a long part that I can go through to break it all down, but that eventually became slavery. Once the Anunnaki decided we're just going to set up a kingship and let these human kings run the world, they started, and those with less Anunnaki blood became the slave. The lower you were, they decided you were to be enslaved. But even, and that evolved in different cultures to where it was, you were a slave, but you had your own house, you had your own family. We paid you money. You could buy your freedom. there were laws that said that the laws govern how you treated your slaves, and they were strictly adhered to. In the Babylonian time frame, under Emperor Sargon and all these other emperors, I mean king, what they were, they were kings, King Sargon, and under Nebuchadnezzar and all those, there were certain ways you couldn't just come and when we find the writings of Arcad, because you couldn't just beat a slave. If you saw a slave doing something wrong, you couldn't just beat a slave. You couldn't just beat somebody who worked for somebody, that because you would owe something to the person who actually owns them. So there were a lot of laws, and you could speak to people. You can walk. You can do what you want to do. It wasn't the same as slavery became after religion. So now, so there was slavery beforehand, but I know this sounds crazy, no, the way I'm saying it, but it was a more civilized version of slavery. Right, a more civilized version of slavery, where people could actually live. There's a part of in the Richest Man in Babylon. There's a story talks about the camel trader guy who tried to avoid his debt, got caught up into slavery, but he freed himself and then paid his way out and then became a free man. It was much easier to become a free man, and if somebody earned enough money to buy their way out of slavery, the person couldn't deny them. Right, so it was different. It was a different type, which is why they try to separate the chattel slavery. But that chattel slavery came about because of religion. So the question, which has been worse for black people? Has it been religion or has it been slavery? Right? Now, before I go to more detail about that one, let me see what the question is here. Jerry Jordan says, how do a multitude of black people put forth so much faith in a book that is that the all-knowing God would give the Roman Catholic Church total jurisdiction? Because they grew up in a slavery that forced that book down their throat. That's why. That's why. See, I'm going to say that religion has done more damage to black people than slavery, right? Because if religion, if the Jewish, well, it all starts from Jewish. If the Semitic, let me just say Semitic. We're not going to break it down, these three. The Semitic religions had never come into existence, had never dominated. If the Semitic religion had never became a part of the most dominant force on the planet at that time, which was the Romans, if that had never happened, then the type of slavery that would have occurred to the African, to the Indian, to the people of color around the world would have been wholly different. Because in the type of slavery that was going on before, whatever your spirituality was, you could maintain it. Whatever your religion was, you can maintain it. Even when you look at the falsity of the Hebrews being slaves in Egypt, which there is no, the only place that says that they were slaves in Egypt was the Bible, was the Torah. There's no evidence of Hebrew slaves, and the timelines don't even match up. It doesn't, the time frame of Ramses and the time frame that the Bible says is totally off. So it doesn't even match, right? So the thing about it is, the Israelites were able to maintain their religion if they so choose, if they desire so. But after the Semitic religions took over, you weren't allowed to maintain your spirituality. You weren't allowed to. And one of the main reasons why is because control. Religion brings about control. Even those people in the European continent were under a religious slavery, a mental religious slavery. When you study the Inquisitions, those Inquisitions weren't occurring to people of color. They were doing it to themselves. The Pope was tired of people like the Medicis who inspired free thinking, so they had to put them through a process of an Inquisition. They had to destroy Florence. They had to destroy people in Spain who were thinking for themselves. And most of those people were women. They had to destroy these women who thought for themselves. Why? Because women are the teachers of the next generation. They're the mothers who's bringing up the kids, and they're the main teachers of that child. So we had to destroy that. Religion became its own form of slavery. And so because it did, it has maintained itself. People walk around today. I just shot a video. I hadn't edited it yet. I hadn't loaded it or anything, but it's called, it's about being selfish, right? And setting your standard for yourself and upholding that standard. The thing about religion is that it takes that away, because part of that is I talked about the fact that if a person were to make millions of dollars and decide to buy them a $10 million home, religion makes you say that, oh, you need to be humble and you can't take it with you and you should provide more for other people. If your motivation is to build that, you may be doing a lot for a bunch of other people. Who is anybody to say how you spend your money? But religion tells you and makes you feel guilty and bad about the fact that you've achieved success. People used to tell me all the time, don't tell me anymore, that I need to reach back and pull other people up. If you're running across the field, I run with you. If you're walking across the field, I run beside you, but I'm gonna tell you, you need to hurry up. Even if you're crawling across the field, I say, look, you're crawling now. I'm gonna be with you for a little while, but I'm gonna need you to get up and at least start walking and running. But if I gotta drag you across the field, I'm just gonna look at you and keep moving, because I ain't got time to drag nobody. I'm not dragging you across the field. I can only take those who are willing to move and do something. If you're not willing, I'm not going to force you, right? But religion will make you feel like you have to, you're supposed to. That's your duty. They'll take that thing that said, to much is given, much is returned, much is expected. But what they fail to realize is that in that story, that comes from the story of the talents, right? In that story, it's not talking about much is expected of you to help other people. No, the one guy took the 5 bags, made 10. The other guy took the 2 bags, made like 5. The other guy took the 1 bag and he hid it. The guy who took the 1 bag and hid it, his was not given to the guy in the middle. His was given to the guy who had made the most out of it, right? Because what you are given, much is expected for you to flip it and turn it into as much as you possibly can. They want to make that seem like you're supposed to go help other people, but you can only help people who want to be helped, right? I'm sure if those 3 dudes was talking to each other, the one who made the 5 and the 10 was probably like, bruh, why you hiding that? You need to, you want to get in on this investment? And he's like, nah, man, master harsh. And he hid it. So his was taken and given to the one who made the most. So too much is given, much is received. And also, expected, but also in that, praise was given to the one who made the most out of it. So why do we have this mindset? Black people being taught in religion that you're supposed to not want more, not desire more. You're supposed to wait for something to come to you later, that you're supposed to suffer through this stuff. You're told through religion that whoever the government, the president, the governor, the mayor, the police, who are put in charge of you, that you're supposed to say that those people were appointed by God and I'm supposed to obey them. That I don't know her name, the lady who's saying that about Trump right now, she's biblically correct. She is biblically correct, right? Atlanta Source said, don't forget where you come from. And I don't. And you shouldn't forget where you come from. But I'm not going to drag people. You see, I come from Marietta, Georgia, born and raised, went to Marietta High School, the whole deal, right? And people used to argue with me and say that when I used to do this radio show on AM 1380 back in the day, I used to do this community radio show. And people used to argue with me like, you need to come back and help your people. You need to help your people. And I used to like, well, okay, I grew up in Marietta. My people are not the ones, and you have to understand the context of the conversation is that I was saying that I'm in the north side. I live on the north side. I deal with the north side. My kids go to north side schools. I'm dealing with all that. I'm helping people on the north side. And they seem to forget that how many black people were not making that much money, who were being treated improperly in Marietta, in Cobb County. And they forget about that. And they think that I'm supposed to take my energies and put it all towards Decatur, the south side. And I'm like, no, I'm helping people where I grew up. So I'm giving back to my community. But my community is not dictated by who you say my community is. Man, I could have used that in my last video that I just shot. And I'm not going to edit it. But that is their selfishness trying to change my standard. And you can't change my standard. My standard is my standard. Right? Do you have any tips on how to break the spell of Christianity? Yeah, study. Study with an open mind without a landing point. All right. Grooveland, I like that name. Smyrna. Yep. And the Baptist church I used to go to as a kid was in Smyrna. Greater Zion Hill Missionary Baptist Church in Smyrna, Georgia. Hopefully they're not backwards anymore, but I'm pretty sure they are. But they, what was that question? What did they just say? I lost something. Oh, do you have any tips on how to break the? No, really. I know it sounds simple, but study with an open mind. Study with no landing point. You see, if you're trying to fit consciousness into Christianity, it's not going to work. It's really not going to work. You have to come out of it totally before you can start fitting in some of the things of Christianity. That's not everything in Christianity is horrible, but you have to be able to denounce, get rid of it, and then when you look at it, then you'll look at it with new eyes, right? And you'll have a better understanding of it. You'll see the allegory. You'll see the things that can't be of any kind of creator. No creator would have all these emotions that book has. So first, study with no landing point. Now, I did a video called the 5 books you should study. So go find that video about the 5 books you should study. Oh, but before you go study those books, I did talk about the trivium, Trivium, Trivium. If you come to the understanding of how the trivium works, then that in itself will help you to be able to study with an open mind and break that spell, right? So that, and basically the trivium is knowledge, understanding, rhetoric, grammar. I'm forgetting how to, the actual terms. Grammar, logic, rhetoric. All right. So you get the facts, come to an understanding of those facts, and then you move on. Now, if you're helping people who are in your family who are lost, that's different. You have to help them see evidence in their own book. My most successful methods have always been not to say, hey, here's the Kabbalion, here's the Emerald Tablet, here's the Sumerian story. That's later. That's later stuff. First, I go through the trivium aspect with them so that they can understand how to critically think. Once we can critically think, then I start pointing out and showing inconsistency. I show it in their own book. Show the best way to teach somebody is through their own book. If you want to show them the misconception, misunderstanding, teach from their own book. And then when you have taught them through their own book, now teach them the history of their book. Then after they start really understanding the history of their book and why things are so convoluted in there, then you can start saying, oh, and this story was first told in the Atrahasis. This story was also in the Greeks. And let me tell you about, Ptolemy and the 70 elders, which created the Septuagint. Then you can go through those things. But if you try to hit them with that, it's like, I want you to drink, but I'm gonna pour a bucket of water on top of you and expect you to drink the bucket. Now I'm gonna feed you a glass at a time. I might have to start out with a tablespoon at a time. But I'm gonna feed you religion, jurisdiction. We're all living on this earth, and we're living. The only concept I've been giving is energy vibration that does answer everything, and it does. I heard of Bob Proctor. I heard a video of Bob Proctor today. And this is so true. And this is one thing I try to get people to understand. This is why I'm such a big proponent on the trivium and then the 7 hermetic laws, 7 natural laws, 7 laws of thought, whichever term that fits you better. But understanding that the people just want to say the law of attraction, but when you understand the hermetic laws, all 7 hermetic laws, and you live by them, because Proctor says is that when you give in to living according to nature, because nature is perfect. When you give in to living according to nature, then you have attained the master key to success in all things, because nothing in nature is unsuccessful that abides by the laws of nature. He actually used an example of and this happens a lot, a sprout, a seed falls into the earth over the wintertime. It's covered. The snow is keeping it warm and compacted. But then what happens is it gets a little bit of warmth, a little bit of spring, and that sprout in springtime, it's time to grow. But then it pops out, but then all of a sudden winter comes right back. It's not its time yet, and it crushes and kills that sprout. Now the other sprouts that waited for spring to come, waited for the right time and obeyed the laws of nature, it grows in abundance. So it's abiding by the laws of nature. As humans, we abide by the laws of the Hermetics, law of vibration, the law of correspondence, the law of mentalism, the law of polarity, the law of rhythm, the law of gender. We abide by these laws. If we understand these laws and live according to nature, then we will be successful. It's when you get outside of them. I'm telling you, guys got to check out the video that I'm going to load after I edit it. It will load sometime today. But about selfishness, if you take that in and abide by these laws of nature, you will be more successful in life than you ever been. And your success is dependent upon what you decide success is. I'm a little confused by that. Okay, you were talking to the ghost found to what? Listening to the master's help, Hitchens, Dawkins, Carrier. All right, I like Hitchens and Dawkins. Teaching critical thinking is key. It is. Energy vibration doesn't answer life. I need more on that one. Our public schools, no, I told public schools will never, they will never teach that. Our public schools is designed to make you into slaves. Just as much as religion is designed to make you into slaves, so is public schools. Public schools is designed to make you a slave. And it's designed to help you to understand how to work for other people. And it's designed to make you live just above, just right at the point of misery that you can contain, that you can stand. And as long as you live at that level, you're good, because they can those in charge, those who recognize how to live successfully, how to break these bonds of slavery, they are the ones who are successful in life. I mean, think about it. This world is set up so that everybody can be successful, truly. Truly, you can. There's no need for us to have starvation. There's no need for us to have homelessness. Everybody can have a place to live and everybody can have food. There's plenty to go around. But yet, those who don't want to live according to nature, those who want to break themselves from this bondage, they'll never receive it. How many people keep going to church and they keep saying and praying for, financial windfalls, but yet they don't do anything according to the laws of nature to create that? Oh, they'll have it in their mind. They'll pray for it. And they'll say, oh, I see it. I can believe it and I'm going to receive it. But yet they never go out and do the work for it. They never fix their credit. How many of you, if you just fixed your credit, I don't know what you guys' credit is. Most people in America's credit is somewhere between 550 and like 614, 615. That's where most people credit, somewhere in that range. If you were to first get the psychology of managing your money correctly, and then from that psychology of managing your money correctly, you get the psychology of maintaining a good, healthy 700 and 740 credit score. How much better would your life be, right? How much better would your life be? You wouldn't have a problem when you get to the point where you're ready to purchase a house and the purchase of the house keeps you from going into severe debt below your income. You'd be fine. You'd be able to have the life that you want to have. But we can know it, but we won't do it. We won't live according to that law of how it works. They go to church, they pay their tithes, and yet they're struggling to make ends meet because they're not being taught. Just like in school, it's not teaching kids about credit and how to work it and finances and how to work it. They're not being taught that at church. They're being taught to pay tithes and God would then press down, shake it forward, and it'll overrun. But they're not telling them how to do it, how to make it overflow. If you're working a job, how you doing, Tia? If you're working a job and you're only getting paid like, let's say $36,000 a year, right? And it costs you, and let's say after taxes, that $36,000 after taxes, you're bringing home about $27,000 in cash. You bring home about $27,000 in cash, but yet it costs you $26,000 a year to live. The lifestyle that you have, it costs you $26,000. How are you ever going to become financially independent if that extra $1,000 is not being invested towards something that's going to bring you back a return on your investment? The church is not teaching you that. They're teaching you that your investment is into the church, not into a business, not into fixing your credit, not into somebody else's business. And I'm not talking about the stock market. I'm saying that dude over there makes amazing chicken wings. I want to be a part of his business. I want to help him grow. She makes the best dresses. I want to be part of that. She is a wig maker from God. I want to get involved with and help her to build a business in making wigs. Or I done found some products that I can sell. I've got my business license. I can go to the merchandise mart. I can buy some purses and I can flip those purses online. I want to do that. Or I'm going to take my $1,000 and I'm going to use that as a down payment to buy a duplex. I'm going to go do that. They're not teaching that, so people don't learn that. And then people stay in bondage. My point of reference in spirituality is astrology. Your north node tells you about your divine purpose, not God. I don't know enough about that to speak on that. I'm doing more study on astrology, so until I have it really good, I kind of stay surfacey on just what I know. I'm not trying to be, I need more answers than ancestors. Sounds like God is out and the ancestors are in. I'm confused in what's going on here with the teachings. Ancestry teaching to me is more the law of correspondence, as above, so below. If you want to look at it from a Semitic point of view, there's ladder. There were several levels, a ladder going up and down, and different angels going up and down and stopping at different rungs, or different spirits stopping at different rungs. That there are different dimensions of understanding of, and people and different entities can help you to come into understandings. Well, the main thing I like about Ancestry is the idea of calling upon the knowledge and the wisdom of ancestors to, help me move forward. It's not so much about worshiping ancestors, because I'm not worshiping anybody. But as far as ancestors are concerned, it is just for me to learn from, utilize them on spiritual plane. That's it. Worshiping them, no. Defining my purpose, defining who I am, no, not necessarily. Being able to pull from the Akashic record. Like, you have ancestors that has done any and everything that you want to have in your life. So maybe I want to pull on that spiritual plane of the ancestry knowledge to be able to work in this current understanding. So Ancestry is more that. Now, when it comes to what God is, I look to the all in all. That God doesn't have this emotional stance where where God is, and not a he, but God is, or the creator, because I hate using the term God, where the creator is trying to say, okay, this is, I have this plan for you. Your plan is the one that you find for yourself, that your inner God and goddess finds for itself. Your twin flame, your feminine and masculine energy find for itself to be able to determine your life path. Some people go for things that they're not good at. That's not your life path. When you've developed yourself, your inner God and goddess, you find your own life path, and it comes down to your choosing, not someone else's, not anything outside of yourself. We're taught so much to focus on what we see, smell, hear, taste, touch, feel, instead of focusing on what's happening on the inside. And what's happening on the inside is what frees us, right? And we need that freedom, because that is the freedom that gets us out of this mindset of slavery. Get us out, and religion, because I don't want to get too far away from the concept that we're talking about here. Religion keeps us as slaves. It keeps that slavery going on. And then what it does worse, it justifies it. It justifies that slavery, right? Tia said off subject, which live conversations always go off subject, so it's all right. Off subject, but do you recommend pulling out of a 401k to pay off retail debt and raise your score? No. I recommend getting out of a 401k, because a 401k is just a big damn savings plan that's not going to do anything for you, and it's not going to be there. A friend of mine, she has a 401k plan, and she's suffering. She retired 4 years ago, and at her current rate of pull from that 401k, she will be broke in about 7 years. And she ain't even reached 60 yet. But she'll be broke in 7 years. So she has to find she's already in the knowledge that she got to find alternate forms of income. Now, if you want to, paying off your debt, your retail debt, I don't know your exact situation, right? But before I pay off anything, I would have to know how this debt is shown on my credit report. If it's through a third party, then I'm just going to get that removed. I'm going to get that removed completely. I'm going to do a 609 letter, and in that 609 letter, I'm going to list them, and I'm going to say no contract, right? Meaning that I don't have a contract with them. So they have no justification under the Fair Credit Reporting Act to claim that I owe them. Now, if they ever called you and you acknowledged that you have a debt with them, then you messed yourself up. So you may have to wait a year or 2 years of not speaking to them in order to invalidate them. But I would send a 609 letter invalidating them as, I don't owe you any money, right? I don't owe you nothing. I have no contract with you, right? And the 609 letter, depending on how you write it, you can change it different ways to make it work for you. Actually, I'm coaching someone now where she's getting ready to do credit repair, credit restoration. This one of the things that I am doing a self-study program, building a self-study program to be offered on my website, so that those who want to self-study it can do it. Those who want me to help them, I can help them, coach them through it. I will coach you. I'll make you do the work. You need to do the work yourself so you can maintain it forever. I don't like coaching people who become dependent on me forever. But I wouldn't pull a 401k for that. I would pull a 401k and put it in a vehicle that's actually going to give me return on my investment. Like, I don't know how much you have in a 401k, but let's say you had 10,000 plus in a 401k. I would take that money and I would buy me a duplex, or I buy me a really nice house that I can put on Airbnb and let that keep turning money, reinvest that money into more duplexes, more houses, more Airbnbs, or more just duplexes or houses, period, that I'm renting. I would keep flipping that. Once you have, think about it like this. If you have, and there's ways of getting those houses and having them free and clear. Once you have, say, 10 houses free and clear, or 10 properties free and clear, and you're just renting them, and they're free and clear, you're going to be earning like anywhere from $8,000. Let's say you're going to be earning $8,000, and you put the other $2,000 into, saving escrows for repairs and that sort of thing. $8,000 a month. If you got 10 houses and they're free and clear, and you buy them now, and let's say they did have a mortgage on them, but in the next 20 years you get those mortgages paid off, you're now seeing your 60s, but you got 10 houses and they're providing you income. You're not worried about a 401k. You're not worried about what inflation does, because you're able to raise your rent to keep up with inflation, right? So you're able to keep moving forward. People don't think that way. And that's one of the slavery things that we have to break. We have to think differently. We have to think long term. We have to think broader. So I would do if you was working with me financially, you would be doing something totally different that's against what most people do, and then you'll be successful too. Coach ran spiritual plane. Thanks, Coach. That gives you something more research. Good. Don't be scared. It's nothing to be scared or uncomfortable about. Well, they enticed you with the 401k and the tax breaks and all that kind of stuff because the 401k is really for them. They get to take your money and invest it. Think about it. They take your money and invest it so they can make more money. I would never. A guy asked me a couple weeks ago if would he stick with his 401k fully invested, and I was like, no, I wouldn't. But I knew he was stuck. He was stuck. So I just told him, hey, you only got 2 more years. Go ahead, knock yourself out. But I did tell him you need to look for other investments. You need to know the exact time you're born. Oh, you talking about doing the birth chart for your star chart? Yeah, I did a birth chart for my star chart. Then I broke everything down. And so when you do the star chart for your birth chart, even though you get their synopsis of what it is, understand all the houses, all the planets, and understand the degree, the degrees and all that kind of stuff, and write them all out, and then you can actually get a complete picture of your star chart. Or you can pay somebody to do it. It's a lot of detail though. The black church takes in billions of dollars annually, and the condition, yeah, because they're not teaching people how to actually build anything. I mean, imagine if a black church who was taking in this money bought a plaza, took that plaza, teach people how to run business, open up business in that plaza, promote that plaza every week like they advertise, and then the people start shopping there, and then tell the people who own the business to hire the other people from that church. They will rotate that money so much, they will keep rotating their money. And they would actually create something where they build. And then they open up a bank, and then finance people to buy the houses in their neighborhood. That's how you build community. Y'all lucky I don't have a church. If I had a church, folks in my church be making some money. We be rotating our dollar. And before y'all say anything, I am having contemplations about not a church, but something different. That would still be a 501(c)(3) whatever, but a way of building community. But I don't plan on staying in this country, but it doesn't mean I can't start it, because y'all know I'm leaving. I'm going to Botswana or Haiti. Well, I'm going to Botswana. I want other people to go to Haiti too. All right, y'all talking all this astrology stuff. I'm gonna let y'all have that conversation. But I did do the birth chart. I would recommend anybody to do a birth chart if you're interested in it, because just to say that I'm a Libra, yeah, it'd be a teaching church. It would be a teaching organization. Temple. Like the Babylonians during the time of Akkad, during the time of Emperor is it Sargon? Yeah, during Sargon, but also through Nebuchadnezzar, because this was when they had the Hanging Gardens. They called it the Temple of Learning, and I like that. But I would probably call it the Alchemical Hermetic Temple of Learning. I know it's like a long name, because I want people to know this is Hermetic, this is alchemy, Temple of Learning, right? Oh, you want to go ahead and contact me privately. That's cool. Yeah, I like temple because I would have meditations rooms. We would have like a labyrinth. We would have all kind of stuff like that, and many things will be. I would want spaces where people can come in and Atlanta Ford is talking about astrology. He made rooms where you can just come in and you just have conversation. Right? Not so much led by individuals, but people just come in and we can just talk and we can exchange ideas and thought processes. But also, there will be certain services, but it wouldn't look nothing like a church service. I ain't got time for all that singing and all that. We might meditate at first and meditate at the end, but then we're gonna teach and then we getting out of there. I'm not asking you for donations. It'll just be like, hey man, y'all know what it takes. Actually, I wouldn't even do it. I would only do it at the level that I could pay for it myself. And if people wanted to donate, then I'll say, okay, I'll accept your donation. Now, I'll tell people, hey, it costs money now. So if you want to, if you feel like you're getting something out of this, but my main thing will be, hey, these are all the business owners in this place. These are all the people who are managers at different companies. When you have we have a constant job board, but also a constant business board. We need to shop with each other is what I'll be promoting. And I don't care who's in there. And I know I would want the black community to participate strongly, but if I got a white guy that comes in there and they're in that understanding and they just want to build community and they want to grow their own spirituality, I'd be like, look, y'all need to shop with John. Shop with John. But John know that he hired some people. We better hire people out of this place first, and we're going to build each other up. Because I will say that I'm black. And I care about my black people, but I care about people. I'm more universal than anything else. So that might piss off some people, but it's just the truth, right? Because if, let's say, you know how we got like Asian businesses in the black community, and they're just taking their money and they're just taking it back to Gwinnett County, right? They're just taking it back to Gwinnett County, but their business is over in Decatur, Lithonia. I wouldn't have a problem with that Asian person if they hired the people in Lithonia to run their business. If they lived over there where their business is, or if they participated with the schools, if they helped the schools, donating money, donating product, if they did something with the schools over there, if they participated to help build the community that their business is in, I wouldn't have a problem with that person having a business in that community. But when you just come and rape the community, that's when I have a problem with you. So if you were a white person and you came in and you wanted to build better housing in the black community, I'm not mad at you, because you know what? The civil rights movement wasn't just black people. It was people of multiple cultures and races and the so-called races. So I'm concerned about people who help people, right? And if you're in a neighborhood, you need to help those people in that neighborhood. Well, be a part of the neighborhood. You can only help those who want to help themselves. And they don't. And that's why I do have a problem with most of them there, because most of them don't. Most of them take it and leave, right? Take it and leave, right? And if you were here in Atlanta, I know, dang near every wing spot is owned by an Asian company. And I'm not mad at them for seeing a profit center and going to take that profit center. I'm mad at the people who live in that community and they won't do it themselves and take the profit. I'm mad that I'm happy that a lot of black coffee houses are starting to see spikes in their business since this whole Starbucks thing. But I'm mad that it took this in order for them to see the spike. They should have saw the spike because they opened up in the community. That's when they should have saw the spike. Not because, oh, we now mad at Starbucks and now we're going to go over there. You should have been going over there. You should already be there. And I'm mad that where my store is getting ready to open up at in South Cal Mall, that there ain't a dang on coffee house over there. It's pissing me off because I love my coffee. I gotta bring a coffee pot to my job because I gotta have coffee. I ain't gotta have it, but I just like having it. And churches won't do that. And that's that cycle. And that's what religion does. Religion has made people so enslaved that they won't do it. And they're also enslaved by the government because they want to keep that 501(c)(3) whatever that thing is. They want to keep that. So they're too afraid to say, let me build this community. Because they know that the government is totally afraid of, and I'm not just going to say black people, but they're afraid of any impoverished area becoming self-determined. Because if an impoverished area, an impoverished group becomes self-determined, then they are breaking those chains of slavery. And when they break those chains of slavery, now those who are in charge have to deal with their power. You see, they're already, they can't do much about it other than westernize the Asian people. See, that first generation who come over here, they're not going to westernize them. The second generation, not as much. By that third and fourth generation, they've westernized those Asian kids and ingratiated them into their society. So now they've taken their power away because they're not as connected to their community as their parents and grandparents were. They don't want us because we're all up in there. We're westernized like nobody's business. If black people in their community start taking control of their, they break that bond of slavery. If the black church start taking control of the finances and the property ownership in their communities, you're breaking that bond. Now they have to start recognizing your power, and they don't want to. Those in control never want to recognize and have to deal with a lower group becoming more powerful. That goes all the way back to the Anunnaki, all the way back to the Sumerians. They kept having revolts because the lower caste people started recognizing their own power, that how much Anunnaki bloodline you have don't mean a dang thing, and they recognized their own power, and they had uprising. The same thing happens in an impoverished community with religion. If you recognize your own power, you break the bond, and that's the thing they don't want. You cannot break the bond, and it wouldn't matter if you study the Zulus during the Shaka Zulu era, during his time frame. He, like the Romans, once you were conquered, he wanted to make you Zulu. He made you Zulu. He didn't want it to. He made you Zulu. He made you intermarry with the other Zulus, and he made you a part of the Zulu tribe. That way, you will not break from them. You stay as a part of it. If he left you alone, then you may uprise. The same thing with Hellenization with the Greeks. They intermarried with the people in Afghanistan and Persia and India and Egypt and all the other lands that they conquered because they didn't want you to revolt against them. The Moors, when they took over North Africa and the Iberian Peninsula and Italy, they made you intermarry so that you don't revolt against them. And power does not like other power to rise. That's why they were pissed that the American colonists wanted to rise. They had to try to shut that down. If it wasn't for the French, they would have shut it down because you can't have another power rising up. So in today's world, you cannot have those people who are not represented well, who don't have power, who don't control their land, who don't control their politics, who don't control their police forces. You can't have them rising up financially because now you have to recognize their power, and they don't want you to recognize that power. Matter of fact, if I was trying to take over a country, I would do the same thing. I don't want those against me to recognize their power and come against me. I got to keep them oppressed if I was trying to take over a country. And I'm not, and that's just how it works. Just how it works. But all of that, again, comes from religion. Comes from religion. Because like I said earlier, slavery prior to the Semitic religions allowed for people to rise. It allowed for you to maintain your cohesiveness of unity. It allowed for you to maintain and grow profitability, to become more, to become better, to be able. There's a story, the Sumerian story, where the guy who was a slave started figuring out how to helped his master to make money. Then saved up his own money that he got because he made here's the thing, that type of slavery, you make deals. You say, hey, master, here's the deal. I know we've been making this money and you've been paying me. Now I have some of my own money. Well, I want to start doing this over here. And if I do this and you allow me to do it, I'll pay you this portion of the money I make and I get to keep the rest. And they get to build their own wealth. As that slave built his wealth that he got to keep, at a certain point, if he has enough wealth, he buys his freedom and could build his own. And many times in the Sumerian cultures, in the Babylonian culture, the slave eventually one day was more wealthy than the owner, than his master, buys his freedom and then becomes more financially sovereign than his previous owners. There are like 200,000 different tablets, and 20,000 of those tablets tell that one little story about slaves doing that, right? So it was very common in their society. Imagine if American slavery followed that instead of following the religious slavery, the Semitic religious slavery that we did get. Then you would have had black people growing up in a culture where you found yourself, you found your own economic power while in the midst of your slavery, and then had the ability to develop greater power than your master, your previous master. That's why religion is far worse, because it still has us in that economic slavery. It still has people who were former slaves in the same economic slavery. Now look at the people in India. Because they kept their own land, they got rid of the colonies. They've done better. They're doing better. South Africa is starting to do better because they got rid of apartheid and they're taking back their land. You look at many of the sub-Saharan African countries, they're doing better because they kicked out the colonists, but they maintain their land. We're in America, it's like we're refugees in someone else's land. It's like how the Israelites, you can make slaves of those foreigners who live amongst you. We are like the foreigners living amongst them. Therefore, they still feel like they have a white privilege, a privilege that is ordained to them because we are looked upon as foreigners in their land, the land that they conquested, that their Bible, that the religion says they had to right to conquest. And that is one reason why I'm taking my happiness right back to, I'm going to Botswana, and I want people to leave, and we're going to do some nation building. But if you're going to stay here, you have to build that economic power. I'm going to read some of these comments because y'all getting way ahead of me. Let's see, black people were better off economically when we were segregated from the end of slavery. Exactly, because during that time frame, we were forced to shop with each other, but we built great things then. Then we started building great products and great service and that sort of thing, but then we forgot. All of a sudden, white became better. And that was the worst part of the enslavement of civil rights, that and Martin Luther King actually before he died, started saying that, whoa, I think I'm doing a disservice to my people because I think we're going to lose ourselves. We're going to lose that community, and we did lose it. Religion is worth it taught everyone slavery. It taught everyone a vile form of slavery. I'm not going to say it taught everyone slavery because slavery was here before. But I understand what you're saying, Jai. It taught everyone a worse form of slavery that doesn't just enslave. See, before that, slavery enslaved the body. Semitic slavery enslaved the mind because the religious slavery enslaved the brain. It made you think you was cursed. It made you think you was the son of cursed people. Even though it says that no longer shall the sins of the father be given to the child, but it's easily taught and you easily trapped right into that slavery. So it gave you a mental slavery that was far, far worse than the physical slavery. Say, cringe at watching your sister bring up your nephew as Christian. You know, feed them little bits and pieces here and there, and you know, plant those, like they like to say, plant them seeds, plant them seeds. But I noticed that this next generation that's coming up, because they have more access to information than when I grew up. I'm 46. I had to go to the library when I was 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I was going to the library. I was sending requests to the Library of Congress to get information. It took a while. If I would have had the internet when I was 9, 10, 11 years old, I probably would have been fully out of Christianity by the time I was like 14, instead of it taking me till I was 20, 21. But I was, you know, that their access, you feed them seeds, they have access. They got it right there on their phone. The ghost said, I'm definitely staying here to build my people, build my family first and then our people. And I have no problems with people who want to stay here. I just, you know, it's a weird thing. Oh, good morning. Good morning, Bryce. How you doing? I know I said your name wrong on that last video, Bryce. I called you Boyce, and I apologize for that because I had just dealt with a guy named Boyce. And so I apologize for that. So saying ain't wrong on that other video. So I have faith he'll see the truth. Don't have faith, have knowledge, have actual knowledge by planting seeds. You know, don't just do faith. I understand. And you probably mean that you're going to plant seeds. And I probably am taking that too literal. Yeah, thank God for the internet. I was about to say something, then I lost my thought. Let me see. Let me scroll back, see if I can find it again. Oh, people staying here. Yeah. This is why I can't stay here. Okay, we'll talk something cool. This is why I can't stay here. This is the craziest thing. And this is what I try to get some of the white people that I engage with to understand, especially the white Southerners. I don't know if you guys saw this one conversation with a guy I was in the Marine Corps with, but he's just completely off his rocker. I went and spent 3.5 years living in Germany, right? I spent 3 years living in Germany. 3.5 years living in Germany, I forgot what it was like to feel racism. Now, you would think, I'll check my emails, you would think that living in Germany, a place that was only 50 years ago was controlled by Nazis, that I would have felt way more racism in Germany than I would have ever felt in America, right? But it is hard to watch. But I lived in Germany, didn't experience racism, came back to America, was pissed because I had forgot what it was like to live where you had that anxiety when you see a police officer pull up behind you or get near you or just see one, period. Have forgotten what it was like to go into a store and people are following you, watching you, thinking that you're going to steal. I forgot what it was like to have people driving with rebel flags and yelling racial epithets at you. I had forgotten all those things living in Germany for 3.5 years. And you would think in Germany I would not have forgotten that America would have been looking even better compared to living there, where just 50 years prior they had Nazis controlling the government. But what I realized while living there is that everywhere I went in Germany, the only place you saw something about Nazis was in a museum. You didn't see a statue to Rommel anywhere in Germany. You didn't see a statue of Hitler. You didn't see none of those things being personified. The people in Germany were actually embarrassed about the Nazi and the concentration camp. They taught that in school, that it was a horrible thing that had happened. So a couple of generations have grown up in Germany realizing that was horrible, right? That was horrible. And they hate their past more than anybody else, right? And so my cousins who are armor bearers, I know I miss living in Germany. I'm gonna tell you right now, if I wasn't going to Botswana, if this whole thing wasn't pissing me off and I wanted to do some nation building and I wasn't going to Botswana, I'd take my happiness to Germany because it's so centralized. I lived in Stuttgart, Germany. Loved it to death. Love it to death. I miss going to my mineral therms. But the thing about it is they teach that. Now in America, we glorify. We glorify the rebels. We glorify the Confederacy. We got streets named after all these Confederates. So it is taught. So in the mindset of these people, the Confederacy are heroes. And because they're heroes, people want to emulate that. Now they may say it's about states' rights, but it was the states' right to maintain slaves. It was the state's right to subjugate another human. And they would say, well, and they want to find pride in it. But every time you keep teaching that as a prideful point, as something to honor, all it does is continue to help create racism, which is why we're in this situation that we're in this country, which is why black men are being shot. Well, white guy doesn't. Black guy sells CDs, he gets choked to death. White guy shoots up a school, he gets apprehended. You know? It's totally, totally different. German women love melanated men. Yeah, they do. They do. They do. They do. They do. But, and we got to remember, and here's the thing, there's a lot of black people living in Germany. But we teach in this country to honor the racist. Where over there they teach the racist is to be abhorred. It's actually illegal. Like the neo-Nazi group, they can't protest. It's illegal to spout out that stuff. While in America, it's perfectly legal, right? Hey, what's up, Just a Simple Life, I'm good. It's illegal. So I got to leave this country because I don't want to feel that anxiety anymore. I don't want to go down the street and a cop drives past me and I'm watching the cop more than I'm watching the road. You know, I don't like the idea that when my sons go out and they're wearing them damn hoodies, that I'm concerned and I'm worried. Even if they weren't wearing a hoodie, I'd be concerned and worried. I'm just fed up with that. That if they get caught doing something wrong, that I know that their punishment is going to be 10 times worse than somebody else who was of a different skin tone. I'd rather go and nation build somewhere else. I'm 46. I don't want to spend the rest of my time doing that. Now, some people, they want to stay here, and I'm fine with that. That's cool. But if you're going to stay, I want you to build something. That's why I initially, when I do go to Botswana, I'll be spending the first probably 7-10 years going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because we'll start something here to be built, something in Haiti to be built, and I'm going to live in Botswana. Plus, my money go further in Botswana than it goes here in America anyway. So I want to go there as well. But there are businesses that I'll build here to help support that. Let's see. Don't try telling a Christian that you'll get a sermon. Yeah. You know, Christians, they don't approach me no more. They starting to leave me alone. And I think, and this is not because they see me, they just leave me alone. I think they can feel it. Proud of what I heard about South Africans doing the land as well. Exactly. And then people getting mad. Now, if there was a video, right? This is why religion is so damaging. There was a video of this white supremacist guy in South Africa. And he's saying that he want to blow up stadiums filled with like 7,000 Africans in there, right? South Africans. And that's the way that they're going to fight this battle because they're outnumbered. And the South African government has the guns and that sort of thing. When they asked him to justify what he's doing, he's saying that we own this land. We have a God-given right to the ownership of our land and property in South Africa because the Bible tells them that since they conquered it, it is theirs. It is their God-given right. But yet, now that the South Africans are saying that, oh, we're going to take it back, why can't the same rule apply? If that Bible part applied to them, why shouldn't it apply to those who are taking the land back now? If conquest is God approved according to the Bible, then the South Africans who are conquesting you should abide by it and say that it is fair. But for them to say it's not, So to me, if I'm the South African government, I'm killing every last one of them because I'm going to say, hey, if conquest is biblically ordained, I'm going to biblically conquest your tail too. And I might throw you into slavery just so that you can really get the point. Jerry Jordan, JJ, said, I'm sorry, you're describing the soldiers that were held in high regards in Germany, Tuskegee Airmen, for example, but here in the States, they were spit upon. Exactly. And that's true. Tuskegee Airmen are looked upon greatly in Germany, where here in America, treated like crap. Treated like, what was the group? I think there was a tank battalion called the Black Panthers. They're held in high esteem in Germany too, where here, no, not so much. Just to throw a little Marvel thing in there. I go to Stone Mountain often to work out, and I hate seeing that Confederacy crap. It's unnerving because despite all the progress we made, we still have a long way to go. Exactly. Like I don't like seeing that either. When I go to Stone Mountain to run around the mountain. That's why I'll go up and down it more times than I'll go around it, because I don't want to see that crap. I don't want to see these dudes being honored up there. But it's not because it bothers me, because I know what it's teaching the next generation of little white kids who go up there and they see them and they say, wow, they've been honored by being carved on the side of granite. That will, if all human, I watched this little show called, it's basically about if humans left the planet, what would happen and all that kind of stuff. It's a great little documentary series. I loved it because I like stuff like that. But it showed where Stone Mountain, man, is going, 500 years from now, Stone Mountain's going to still be up there. Still going to be up there. And that is so crazy. That is so crazy. And to me, if I was and I'm not, let me just put this disclaimer, I'm not. If I was a terrorist, the first thing I would do is blow that up. I would blow that up, plain and simple. I'd destroy it. I'd get me an AT-4 and I'd blow a hole in that thing in a heartbeat. But I'm not. Let me go on the record and say that I'm not. Yes, and we just had, let me tell y'all how it is here in Georgia. Yes, Mount Rushmore, don't like that one either. Stop laughing at me, Tia. This is what messed up in Georgia. I think it was last month, not this past, not tomorrow, not last. I think it's this past Monday, the previous Monday, was a Confederate holiday in Georgia, that government employees were given that day off because it's a Confederate holiday in Georgia. We have holidays to the Confederacy in Georgia, right? The FBI is not going to knock at my door. Like I said, I was in the Marine Corps. I had a job, and I was over in Europe. I had a certain job. As soon as they look at my name, they're not going to knock on my door. At least not the FBI. It might be somebody else. Like, hey, you can't say that kind of stuff. But the thing about it is that we had a Confederate holiday here in Georgia. Now, if we have Confederate holidays in Georgia honoring the Confederacy, what does that teach the youth? What does that teach the youth? And this is what a lot of people can't see. And see, that's the kind of slavery that goes on. And here's the thing. That's not just a slavery towards black people. That's slavery going towards the white people too, to convince them, to keep them in a mental that they're superior and that everything that happened was just. And in that way, it keeps the fight so that they can continue to control what they want to control. The ghost said you were a grunt. No. Let's see, what can I tell you? I can say that I worked in Intel. Let me just put it that way. But it's a different kind of Intel. It's not the basic Intel that you can just talk about. But most of the stuff that I had to deal with is now unclassified, declassified. I say unclassified, declassified. Still got a redacted book though. Have you ever heard of Doctrine of Discovery? If that's a documentary or something, no. But if you care to explain a little bit more, maybe I have an understanding of it. Because I studied, one of the hard things for me is that a lot of the books that people are discovering, a lot of the things people are discovering today, may be something that I read a long time ago, and I haven't retained it as well. Like, I read the ISIS papers back in either 90 or 91 is when I read the ISIS papers. So I remember it, and I read it, and I know it's part of my thinking, but I can't separate the parts of my thinking that first were initiated by the ISIS papers, because I read that. I read Black Rose, White Justice. I read Zachariah Sitchin's book back then. I read so many books back then that it's all part, it's the trivium. I took all the facts and put them together in an understanding and then developed the rhetoric. So I don't remember everything. Christopher Columbus. That was an evil bastard, for one. Him and his brother. His brother was worse than him. Doctrine of Discovery was sanctioned by the Pope to conquer and enslave non-Christian nations. Oh, okay, I know what you're talking about then. I didn't know it was called that, but I understand what you're talking about. And that's the thing. That doctrine, you can find it in the Bible. You can find it in the Bible, Old Testament. You can find it in the Bible where they were authorized to go out and conquer people and enslave them, right? So they would send the missionaries, but then they would also send the army, the military. And now if they can go there and subjugate you with the Bible, I mean, think about it. They would tell, man, some people are knocking. They would tell people like Shaka Zulu that yeah, you and King George are brothers, but King George is the king of kings over all these lands, and that you will become part of that. But also that it's through the Bible that King George was authorized and is doing what he's doing to come down here to be with you. But then after a while, they conquered them and killed them. Why? Because just like divine manifestation in America, they had this idea that it was their God-given right to go and conquer Africa. Leopold said, let's go conquer them and kill 50 million of them. Their God-given right to go to India and conquer, to go to Hong Kong and try to conquer. Thankfully, the Chinese beat their butts, but it was their divine right to go do these things. And when they got to America and saw people who didn't have the technology that they had to stand up, they were able to call them savages and be able to conquer them with much more ease because of technology, right? And they believed it was their divine right to do so, which is how they were able to make the common people feel comfortable with it. You see, that's the biggest thing, is that they made the Europeans feel like they had a right, a divine right to conquer these people. And because they did, then everything's okay. And that's where that whole day of the cursed sons of Ham and cursed son of Canaan and all that kind of doctrine comes from, to make them feel good about conquering these dark-skinned people. And by enslaving them, it's through doctrine. It's through doctrine. It's through religion. The Semitic religion is the worst thing that ever happened to the planet. Because not only did it create this destructive force of divine manifestation and this mentality of Europeans, but then that spread to the whole world. And now you got people around the world thinking that that stuff was right. Even though they'll say it's wrong, they'll say that, but they think that slavery was God ordained. And that is the worst part of it. Would you say that we are the only people who are religious first thinking people? That's true. I mean, I'm going to say we are, because we are the most downtrodden people. And in general, the most downtrodden people are the ones who gravitate towards some pie in the sky religion more so than anybody else. Because when you are the most oppressed, will lean to something beyond the scope of what they can see. They will wish and hope more than anybody else. So psychologically, I would say we are. And simply because we are the most oppressed. Now, as we rise in power, just like if you see a rich white person compared to a poor white person, the rich white person doesn't give to religion as much as the poor white person. So because of that, when you look at it that way, that's why we are more religious, because we are more downtrodden than anybody else. So I would agree with you on that one. Atlanta Source Coach, isn't Christianity prevalent in Botswana? If so, why is it so great to you? Yes, Christianity is more prevalent. It's like 79% of the population in Botswana is Christian. The population is only about 2.2 million people right now. Most of the land is undeveloped. They are very tolerant, though, so they are not there. They don't have these religious rules to try to force you into Christianity, and they are open to other religious people. But what makes Botswana so great for me in my thinking is not so much about its religious aspect as much as it is about its underdevelopment, but its growth over the last 40 years. That Botswana is in a state where if you got 10,000 blacks from all over the world come to Botswana with talent, all the way from the dang on engineer down to the janitor, and we're there to nation build, and we just respect each other's religious belief, because they still respect the ancestral religious beliefs of people there. They still respect people of different religious beliefs. So, and they're very open to business as well. You don't have to go to Botswana and have a person who is Botswanan to open your business. You can go there and just open it. But that if they were already, like Nigeria is very much is a built nation, it would be hard to get a power base there if 10,000 black Americans went there. But if 10,000 black Americans, black Europeans came to Botswana, we can establish more of a power base and be able to affect change and create something where people are attracted to it. See, I don't want just people of the conscious community going there. I want people of all communities coming there. It's really not even about religion or spiritual beliefs as far as going to Botswana. It's about the ability to nation build. To go to Haiti right now, where you got the Christian population who are getting all the benefits and the voodoo people who are not, just to go there and say, hey, we don't care what your religious belief is. We'll train you on engineering. We'll train you on medicine. We'll train you on construction. We'll build in this. We'll build houses. We'll build complexes. We'll build resorts. We'll build business in this country and elevate the status of the people, period, of the country, the nation itself, especially now that Haiti is going to be part of the African Union. We'll build that together. And it gives us a power base to attract people out of the oppressive state into a place where black people can be treated fairly, regardless of what you believe in, what you do. Just the fact that you're human, and we're going to treat you fairly, and we're going to treat you based on your character and your talent. That's what I want to build. So it's not so much about religion or spirituality. We put religion before rationality. We do. Yep. And see, America is hard for us to get our power base because America is so damn established, and people are so ingrained into it. That's what I'm working. The only thing that's slowing me up right now is that I personally, in order to help fund this and do this and help people to do it, I'm building my companies here, and I'm going to build it like nobody's business over the next 4 years because I'm putting everything back into building my companies and giving my sons time to graduate high school, right? I want them to go, but I'm not going to force my children to go. But for my kids that stay here, I have a mission for them as far as continuing to build this company, but also provide gateways to get people to, people need a gateway here. Just like they got embassies here, we're going to need like a gateway here, an organization here that helps people who want to leave, but also one that builds community here so that it's a power base, it's a stream of power that comes from America, goes to Botswana, goes to Haiti, but also in Botswana and Haiti that helps generate more power here as well. Because eventually we will have to, in the next 300 years, we'll have to deal with the power base here. We have to build a power base here. My plan is I don't play the short game, I play the long game. So this is the Botswana and Haiti game is a 50 to 100 year game. The American game is a 300-year game, right, to play. So when playing this long game, and I know this sounds crazy, I plan on being here for the entire time. That's why I'm very much into studying CRISPRs and stem cell research. So, yeah. Let's see, what am I missing? So y'all might think I'm crazy, but it's all right. It's a good topic. Religion is our greatest hurdle. It is. It's incredibly. Religion is the thing that stops us from being able to unify, to be honest. Religion stops the unification of black people in this country. But the thing about it, all we have to do is show economics. If you can show this is why I am more apt to create a temple society here in America, because it is not, and here's the thing, I do want to teach people about natural law, about the hermetics, about alchemy, that sort of thing, about chakras. I do want to teach people that. But my main thing is to organize people into building communities, into supporting one another and circulating our dollar, because we can do that. People will gravitate towards it. I'm not trying to get people to gravitate towards a religion or spirituality. I want to gravitate people in America towards financial religion, right? A financial status, a financial mindset. That's the gravitation that I want, that I'm looking to create here in America, because that's how we get past the disunity that religion create. Because if I got a Muslim and I got a Jew and I got a Hebrew Israelite and I got a Christian and 11 different variations of Christian all coming to, they're going to be attracted to the fact that if I go there, I know those people are helping each other to make money. Because before anything, people are interested in putting money in their pocket and food in their mouth and having homes and that sort of thing. That's what's attracting people in Haiti to Christianity is not Christianity. It's the fact that that's how you get out of poverty. That's how you get medical attention. You can't go to the Catholic hospital unless you are Catholic. You can't go to the Catholic school unless you say you're Catholic. So you don't get the education, you don't get the health. You can't take your family out of poverty, or at least it's more difficult, if you're not Christian in Haiti. And they're attracted to the finances. And they're doing this in South America. They're attracting people to food. Hey, you hungry, you starving, fine, get baptized and then I'll feed you. So my thing is, I'm going to show you how to feed yourself so that you can then break these bonds of mental slavery. Right, successful white people tell black that we're lazy and we need to work hard to make in this country. Exactly. They tell us that. But it's more than just work. We got to work smart. And you have to organize. And you have to use these natural laws in order to be successful. You really, really do. You really have to understand that. Bernie Mac said we're hood rich. We are, because we'll spend our money on. Me and Shay was just talking last night because we was at this place. If you're not from Atlanta, you may not know what it is, but it's a place called Atlantic Station. When they first built Atlantic Station about 20 years ago, there was a big thing. Black people saying that why is all these tax benefits and all that kind of stuff just to build something for white people to go to and all that sort of thing. But as it turned out, black people go to Atlantic Station more than anybody else in this city. Now, when you go to, and now here's the thing, what Shay was saying is that if you were to build an Atlantic Station on the south side, or a plaza like that, like a shopping plaza like that on the south side, people will still drive all the way up to Atlantic Station and ignore the one in their own neighborhood simply because they think it's better. Hood rich mentality. That it's better because it's coming from there. Hell, it could be the same store over there and then it is down there, and they will ignore it because it's on their side of town. It's in the more impoverished side of town. Are you familiar with Garfield of the Dagger Squad? He's an economics. I haven't, but I'll look him up. But yeah, the forced indoctrination, and and now you don't even have to. They don't even have to push it. It's done so naturally without even thought. People don't even have to think about it. You don't even have to think about it. All right. Now, so what do you guys think? Which one is worse for black people? Was it slavery, or was it or religion? Which one has caused the most damage? Based on the fact that slavery, that there are different types of slavery throughout history. There's this huge divide in when slavery changed in the world from a chattel slavery, from a different, and I hate saying it this way, civilized version of slavery prior to the Semitic religion, into this type of caste system chattel slavery that occurred after religion. And I know people like to say only American slavery was the Western Hemisphere slavery was this chattel slavery, but really you can look at all slavery since the Semitic religions took over as becoming chattel slavery throughout. Chattel slavery throughout. Because trust me, when Europeans had slaves of their own kind, look at the history of the Brits with Scotland and with Ireland and how they treated them. And only because those people had their own lands and had their own fiefdoms, they were able to come together and fight better and fight more. The reason why we, Africans in America and South America, were different is because we were taken from a land, a power base. There was no power base, which is why they went and grabbed slaves from people from India and made them slaves in Africa to take away their power base of the land, the community, and that sort of thing, and set you apart. See, when you set a person apart and isolate them, it's easier to control them. All right. Just a Simple Life says, gotta say that religion because it justifies slavery. Yes, and it's the justification of a type of slavery. The type that says beat them jokers as long as they don't die. The type that said they can be your property forever, you know, and you can pass them along, pass them down from generation to generation. Whereas previous to the Semitic religion, slaves were it was more of a system of being able to buy yourself out. Religion is slavery. They go hand in hand, exactly. And it is a type of slavery that is very difficult to escape from, because it gets into your mind. It got you thinking that, oh, this suffering I'm going through, I'm going to be rewarded. I mean, how does it sound? Those who are treated the worst are going to be first in heaven. That makes no sense. That makes no sense whatsoever, right? Those who are last will be first. Because let's say you had a person, and there are examples of this, people who are wealthy, right? Matter of fact, let's talk about a person like that. Religion, slavery, and slavery is religion. Yep. Simple religion is definitely still on a destructive path. Yep, exactly. How can we come together to form our own network in preparation for censorship of the networks we are presently using? YouTube. Well, one is to form our own version of communicating through one another, but they'll never be able to stop us completely. YouTube can try to stalemate things and stop things, but they have to allow us a certain amount of open source so they destroy themselves. But the internet is uncontrollable at a certain point, because you can set up server units in other countries like Botswana, Madagascar, all kind of things like that where people can still contact and get through. All right, but that whole like the worst, the meek and all this kind of stuff. I like studying Andrew Carnegie. Even though Andrew Carnegie is still a product of his environment, I'm not saying he was all good. Let's not even go there. But let's look at the man. The first, Andrew Carnegie was born poor, right? Born poor, suffered, built his way up, became the richest man in the world for a while. When you look at Andrew Carnegie, he was a devout Christian, though, very devout Christian. From his first paycheck to his last paycheck, Andrew Carnegie he paid tithes, right? Unlike many people of his day, Andrew Carnegie believed that the children of former slaves should be educated. So, and I think Tuskegee is the primary black school that African-American school that he sponsored. I think Rockefeller did Spelman and Morehouse, but Andrew Carnegie did Tuskegee, right? Dumped loads of money. He built libraries all over the world because he believed that people needed to have access to information, right? So, although he still was a product of his time frame, he believed he still had a mindset that people deserved information, knowledge, and did things that most rich white people back then did not do, right? Didn't do. So when they say that, now you take a person who grew up poor and they were religious, but then they never helped anybody. They never donated, they never created anything to benefit people who were oppressed. How are you going to tell me that Andrew Carnegie is going to be last in heaven, whereas this person is going to be first in heaven? Simply because of money, right? When this person who had money did far more for people than this person over here on a human scale. It doesn't work that way. But we're brainwashed, but Christians, religious people, are brainwashed into thinking that the poor will be first. And that's crazy. That makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. Man, heaven is a state of mind to me. Heaven is not a place. Because if you look at the law of correspondence, when you learn to understand the Hermetic laws, the law of correspondence, that there are different planes of existence, different mental states of being. And heaven and hell is a mental state of being that all exist on the same polarity scale. Heaven to the far right, hell to the far left. But on each one of them, there is good and bad, no matter where you go. If you went to the 7th level, or like, what was that, Barry Gore's Last Dragon, 7th heaven. If you go to 7th heaven, there are going to be good and bad decisions to be made, vibration, high vibration, low vibration, no matter where you go. It is just a mental state. It's a mental state. And most people are going to hell. According to, what's his name? Napoleon Hill. Most people are going to go to hell in their own mind because that's what they believe, truly believe they deserve to go, because their brains are so negative and they fear hell. Whatever you fear is what you have in your life. I think slavery, you can eventually drop religion, but slavery goes into hiding for a short time, then shows its ugly head later on. Good. Okay, I can see that one. But just think about it, though. If you're free, think about all those people who escaped. Harriet Tubman, she left. She escaped the bonds of both mental and physical slavery. I mean, we don't know how much mental slavery she escaped, but she escaped enough that she left. And she had enough escape that she kept coming back and forth, getting more people. And what did she say? I would have freed more if they realized that they were I would have freed more people if only they had realized that they weren't slaves. Something like that. I can't think how it actually goes. But if you free yourself from, if I got to tell you guys, when I had a lot of stuff in my brain. I had been studying for I went to Germany. I was 23, I believe. I was around 23 years old. I had been studying a lot of things, but I was still here in America. I was still coming to understand. But when I went to Germany and I got to see different stuff, see different people, when I traveled to other countries and I got to see the different people and how they lived, and my mind began to open. I got out of the physical slavery of America of that time frame, and I was in a place where I was free to think and walk and be. Where I have all that, my mind opened up even more. So I'm going to say that physical slavery, once you leave it, your mental freedom can come so much easier and so much better. Because I don't think I would be the exact same person, or I know I wouldn't be the exact same person if I had never left this country. If I had never been to a lot of these African countries and Middle Eastern countries and hadn't been to these European countries and some of these Asian countries, I wouldn't be. I don't think I wouldn't be as free in my mind, because there's something about being here that keeps you. Something about being in this environment where you know that you are still a physical bondage. You're still in a physical bondage that just hampers your development. Do you ever do a video on Stargate or the Prometheus movie? I haven't seen Prometheus, but I've been meaning to watch it. Stargate, you know what? I love that movie, by the way. So I'm going to watch Stargate and do it again, and do something about that movie, because there's a lot of symbolism and hermetic stuff in that one that I like. That was a deep statement. Appreciate it. Religion equals mental slavery. Sure does. Different ways of communicating in cultures. Okay, yeah, there are many different ways of communicating culture. Slavery and religion run hand in hand. They are even across the board. Yeah, which is somewhat. But I'm telling you, that religious slavery, man, that thing keeps your mind, because even when your body is free, your mind is still a slave to, and religion keeps you a slave. Every Sunday, you go in for another dose, or Saturday, depending on your religion. Every Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, people go in for another dose. Then they go in for a dose on Wednesday. And then I see it all over their message board, getting another dose. And I did see somebody say an app would be a good thing. An app would be, because, and especially, you have to, like, we have to get control. Like, North Korea has its own servers. It does what it wants to do. It allows in what it wants to allow in. We do have to create, as we get into countries, establish our own setups, right? Establish our own processes. Oh, thank you, Linda. I appreciate that. Right there. I appreciate you too. That's why what we're dealing with now, we are a modern day railroad. Religion is a hell of a drug. It sure is. And we're dealing with this. It is a drug. It's a drug that's keeping people so enslaved and caught up, right? Because it gives you an excuse not to think for yourself. Most people don't even read the book themselves and don't have an understanding. And then they just get the little quips, the little small pieces. And this is in every religion, all the religions. They just get small pieces here and there, the part that they like, the part that keep the people motivated and happy. You know, if I wanted to, right, I could really just, if I want to go all in and just do it for money, I could start a church. And y'all have never heard me really get into a charismatic way of speaking. This is why, I am going to go join Toastmasters, because I do want to get better with my speaking. But I've spoken before. And I can get into that mode where I know the high points and the low points. I know how to take you down to a point and then bring you up real high and get you all emotionalized into the whole thing. I know how to do that. I know how to use persuasion to get people to fall in line with what I want them to do. And the easiest way is to do things that they're already indoctrinated in. I could build a financial empire by teaching one of these religions, one of these Semitic religions, right? And the people will love it, because all I got to do is keep them away from the things in the books that makes them think. Just keep them away from that, or misconstrue things, right? Because I can say my people will perish for their lack of vision. And instead of teaching you about your third eye and opening your third eye and your pineal gland being decalcified so that you can see the vision of your inner God and goddess, no, I would tell them that you gotta open you gotta have vision and be able to communicate and have discernment to see God's vision for your life, to see how God is going to move, and gotta use terms like going to, can't say that is going to move in your life to establish you in the kingdom of God, because you're doing kingdom work, not world work. And if you continue to do kingdom work, that God's going to bless you, and he's going to bless you more abundantly than you ever received before. When that check is needed, it's going to come in the mail. When you leave this existence, you're going to have a mansion in heaven. I could teach that in such a way that cause people to just think yes and make them feel good, and they'll come back next week and they'll give me that money. And I had that musician hitting it at the right keys to get that right vibration inside the people. But what's the point? If I did that, I'd be just as bad as they are. Because at the end of the day, I'm not elevating people. I'm not elevating people at all. And that's what we have to do. We have to elevate people's mindsets, allow them to think. Because when people think, here's the thing. There are many of you, we disagree. But because we're adults, we're okay. We can disagree. We don't have to agree on everything. And that's fine. Some people are saying that religion is worse. Some people are saying that slavery is worse. And here's the thing. It's cool. And if you have a conscious reason, rationale to it that makes sense in your mind, and because it makes sense in your mind, you start to develop ways of breaking that. That's all I'm looking for. It's for you to think for yourself, to break those bonds yourself. If you need to do it physically first and then mentally, or do it mentally first, then physically, that's great. As long as you break it. As long as we get to the same point of understanding that religion and slavery is not for people. It is not the way that if we believe in a creator, or if we're atheists, or we're agnostic, it is not the way that we are supposed to live. No person should be owned by another person, neither mentally or physically. And that's the point that we have to get. That's the point I'm looking to get. That's the purpose of this whole video, this whole conversation, is to get there. Let me get some comments. 21-year-old Waffle House shooter victim was singing gospel songs. Right. And then they're going to say, well, he wasn't really Christian, because real Christians don't do that. Hitler was Christian. Hitler thought that. Have you ever read Mein Kampf? Hitler was straight Christian, thought everything he was doing was in the name of Jesus, and that it was the way that God wanted him to do things. He was hurrying up the expulsion of the Jewish people through burning them. That's why he chose to burn them, because the Bible said that next time God comes back, he's going to come through fire. So he burned them. He was doing God's work as far as he was concerned. That guy, any person, when they say that these people weren't real Christians, because that's their standard. They think that Christians is this, that, and the third. But according to their book, all you got to have is John 3:16. And no person who's doing evil at a level like that thinks that they are wrong. They all think they're right. That's the crazy part about it. They think if Hitler had won, he would be celebrated. He would be celebrated. People would have thought he was right. And they thought they were right at the time. It seems to me that black people figure out ways to acknowledge divinity before they figure out ways to suppress anyone. Wait a minute, am I reading that right? Figure out ways to acknowledge divinity before they figure out ways to suppress anyone. But yes, you're right. They do. They'll because it's conscious laziness. It's just spiritual and conscious laziness. We just don't want to do. They don't want to figure out. Where was Jesus at? Exactly. We are the Harriet Tubmans of our time frame, and I agree with you. I agree with you. I can't, and that's why it was a comment that I was talking on Facebook today, and I was saying that I can't force people. I'm not there to drag people. You know, I walk with you, I run with you, but I'm not dragging you. All right? Keep feeding them drugs. It does. And that's why we have to build. I do want to build a temple, because it does help for people to see it with their own eyes that if you want true blessings, you want true manifestations, then hey, you need to understand these natural laws and be able to manifest it yourself. It is not some third party that's going to bring it to you. You got to look inside you first. And you look inside you, change your mindset, change the way you function in this world, then you'll be able to manifest whatever it is you desire in your life. But you'll understand every aspect of it, not just this basic, The Secret, the law of attraction book BS that they feed you just a little bit of the formula. It's like, I'm gonna give you a little bit just to get you cooked, but then I'm not gonna tell you the rest of it, because I need you in a state of wanting all the time. You can't actually be successful, then you don't need me anymore. Taking religion from it is like taking a pacifier from a baby. They cry. They do. And you know what? I stopped. I didn't know. I had one of my children. They had a pacifier. Then I stopped giving them a pacifier, and they cried. But guess what? After a while, they stopped crying. They realized that they didn't need it, right? That wasn't providing them food. The pacifier is a false sense. The pacifier is just like the bottle. The bottle, they know they're getting food. The pacifier seems like the bottle, looks like the bottle. They're sucking on it like the bottle, but they're not getting any food. But their minds are tricked into thinking that it's satiating me, that it's causing me to be fine and good and full, and I'm getting something from it. But in truth, you get nothing. Nothing. Actually, I'm gonna do a video using that as a thing, but it gets nothing from it. But so when you take the pacifier from them, they realize that the only time they should then suckle is when they actually get food. But we have to take the pacifier, and they need to cry. It's a coping mechanism. Superstitions ain't the way, show ain't. See how easy that was? And that's exactly what I know, and I was just playing around with that. Don't let me get started. I cried when I found out I was hoodwinked. And a lot of people do. I've loved Carlton, but I feel like he's doing exactly what they are saying, using Christ consciousness while keeping people. And a person like him, he's going to have to go, hopefully he goes through the entire process. But 50 years of believing something, generations of believing that same thing. I don't expect him to just it. I really don't. It's just like someone asked me to look at this one lady, and she calls herself a Christian witch. I don't expect her to do a 180. You've been growing up in it for a very long time. It's going to take more time. And I do believe that he's growing, but he's also surrounding himself with people who believe the same thing. He could come full circle, maybe not. That attraction of having that lifestyle again. It would be much easier for me if I taught Christian consciousness or Muslim consciousness or Israelite consciousness, it will be much easier. I can actually get more people to follow me if I taught that there is a Christ consciousness, that we still, everything in the Bible, the Jesus part is true. It's just been manipulated and misconstrued. And there's a Christ consciousness that has a universal everyone aspect to it. If I taught that, even in that, I could get more people. I used to go to this Unitarian church that was near my house because they had like meditation rooms and the labyrinth and all these kind of things. But I couldn't stomach the teaching after a while because I was like, oh man, y'all, all y'all did is you're just creating the same thing, just allowing people to say that it's more accepting. It's more accepting than the previous version, but it's still, no, I can't do it, because if you can't, you still didn't want to teach from each book. You still didn't want to teach the ancient wisdom. You still didn't want to break down the lies that's in this book. You still wanted to kind of keep it like surfacey. So I couldn't deal with them at all. But, you know, we'll have to see where he goes. Religious cuts off thinking and makes you leave it to Jesus. Then waiting. 1400s. No, Jesus built. Jesus but skinned alive, castrated. 1500s. No, Jesus. Ain't nothing Jesus. I'm not sure I understand that. 1900s. No, Jesus. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, still waiting on. Now, according to the teaching, he's supposed to come back before that generation died. I ain't seen the Joker. And I'm sorry. If somebody said that they're going to come back before this generation leaves, but I don't see them yet, I'm just saying. At some point, you got to say, wait a minute, now, when is he supposed to come back? Then it becomes this esoterical thing. Then it becomes this, and it's always the end time. Well, here's the thing. If somebody died and they say they're coming back at the end times, every moment is the end time. Every moment is going to be an end time. Everybody, wars. When has there not been wars and rumors of wars? There's always wars and rumors of wars. You know, that makes it's a good smooth drug. And then to put things in there like the great falling away, that helps. To put things in there like, I don't know if you guys saw the video where Bishop Ellis was talking about, oh, even if an angel from heaven come down and say something different than this word, then you're to curse that angel. That angel is cursed. That's a great way to show that even if a correction, even let's say they are right in the points of a God and angels. If that angel came down and said, hey, look him, y'all got some of this stuff mixed up. That's not what was said. Some of the things that Pope Leo wrote, that Urban wrote, yeah, not so much. You know, some of the things these biblical forefathers said, nah, we messed that part up. That really didn't happen. They would curse that angel because they got that in that book to say that these angels are wrong if they say that. So it's like a safety net. I mean, the swerve is intense. It's like the Matrix when they don't free the mind up once they don't free the mind up once they get to a certain age. True, the older a person gets, the harder it is. Napoleon Hill said in his book, Outwitting the Devil, we're doing a study on that on my Patreon, that the negative portion of your brain loves to get, if they can get you young, but keep you. And after a certain age, he got you forever. Because when a person is harder, the older you get, it's harder to leave. It's hard to leave because you've been doing it for so long. And it could take a long time. Now Papa says that if Christians would allow themselves to read and study outside the Bible, they will find out what the Bible is and just another resource about you. 30 years later, Jesus still in the way. Peace, Coach. Peace. How you doing? No name. Rose D. And here's the thing about outside. This is why I said earlier, I don't know how long you've been with us. I usually start with people inside their book so that I can show them first inside their book, and then I take them outside. Because there's so many discrepancies and misunderstandings inside, and so many things that don't make sense inside, and so many evil things that show that this dude is pure evil inside, that I take them inside first, then take them outside. But yeah, if you could get them to read outside their book, they may come to an understanding. But hey, let's get them to read their book. If they just read their book, what's up, Shondell? Y'all late. If they just get them to read their own book, because I'm not going past 2 hours, and we got 6 minutes. Because I need to go. I got something to do today. If they would just read inside their book, without the doctrine justification. But even if you lead them a certain way, if you teach them a way that causes them to think about it by just giving them the facts, and that's what I like to do. I like to just give people facts. This is what the book says, and people try to say, "Well, that's out of context." Well, let's read the whole thing so that you can understand the context. Certain things are just evil, no matter how you slice it. Sorry. They called the dude Baldy. And then God, and then the word said, which is the word is Jesus, the word said, so I'm going to send some bears to rip these children up because they call old dude Baldy. How is that out of context? When it says that I'm going to make you, that you're going to decimate this entire race of people, genocide, this is genocide. And you're going to decimate and kill all these people, all the men, all the women, all the children, and all the babies, and all the animals. And yet, this is the word of God saying that, so that means Jesus is saying it. Then that means that genocide is okay with God. So that because genocide is okay, the American slave trade, it's okay if we commit genocide to the Native Americans who were already here. We can erase entire tribes of people off the planet because genocide is okay, according to this book, right? Get them done. And as much as they're like, no, God wouldn't do that. And he had a reason. What reason would an infinite good God have to commit genocide? Oh, where they weren't acting right. So as a parent, you would destroy a whole tribe of people for that cause? It's not right. See, logic. See, that's why I teach them the trivium first. Information, facts, logic, rhetoric. And then I show them where the trivium is in their own Bible. And all that get knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Right? With knowledge. And there's an actual part of that I'm going to break down of how most people see it as a prosperous thing, but it's actually more of a warning. And I don't know it right offhand because I got it written down, where it says that it's something where knowledge fills a house with treasures, understanding builds a house, but wisdom establishes the house. Most people look at that as like, yeah, you got to have knowledge, wisdom, understanding in order to have great things in your house. But another aspect of it is saying that if all you have is knowledge, then all you can do is fill your house with trinkets and treasure. That's all knowledge does, just give you trinkets and treasure, superficial things. Understanding at least establishes the place. But if you want to build it, you need wisdom. And the thing about it is that you need the knowledge, you need the understanding, but you need to first get that wisdom going so you can build something. And once it's built, then you can establish it more through understanding. And then your knowledge will provide the right type of things inside the house, the right type of treasures inside the house. Many times I've heard that preached, and it's preached backwards, as if it's all great. How do Christians get around 47.5? I don't know. 47.5, taken out of context. Sorry, 47.7. Yeah, you're going to have to explain what 45.7 is. You ain't put no version. What book? Is that a book? So we can understand it. And what it say? When I read and studied the book for over 30 years, but when I went outside the book, this is what Queen is saying. Research and prove to find that Jesus existed. But when I went outside the book, searching to prove to a friend that Jesus existed. Oh, I see you saying you were devastated. Actually, you know what's funny? Wisdom comes with time, and it does come with time. But we get caught up into the knowledge and the trinkets that it gives us. Now, here's the thing. One thing about that, and I love when people they say that, oh, me and Kevin and all these other people, we left Christianity because we were hurt. I wasn't hurt. I was irritated that people couldn't answer questions, basic questions. That irritated me, but I wasn't hurt because I left. I was left because I studied. And then it hurt when I realized everything that was taught that was wrong. It's not the hurt and then I left. It's I left and then I was hurt because I realized all this stuff was just jacked up. And you're hurt because of the hurt is an after effect of coming to truth. Not I was hurt and then I went away. And they want to mistranslate what you mean and think that, oh, you had to be hurt. Some pastor hurt you. No pastor hurt me. I wasn't physically abused. I wasn't sexually abused by any pastor or anybody there. I wasn't treated. I was mentally abused by somebody who couldn't answer my questions when I was 9 years old. How do you not able to answer a 9-year-old question? Now, my kids are like 16 and 13 and 15 and 20. Well, not 15, but 20 and 22. them jokers in college and stuff, they ask me a math question. What math are they doing now? Don't ask me about trigonometry. I can't teach you trigonometry now. So I'm not, But when they were 9, oh, I can handle their math. I can handle all their questions when they were 9. Right? 9 years old, you got a question about history, I got you. You want to know what a preposition is? I got you. A noun, I got you. So how do you not answer a 9-year-old's question? That bothered me. That irritated me. Right? So I wasn't hurt. Nobody hurt me. Shondell says, saw that video yesterday, 1.5 hours. I was confused since it started out, since the start of the Pythagoras angles. What video? I don't know what video that is. 1.5 hours. Don't know. But Pythagorean angle. Pythagoras, man, Pythagoras, that dude. But I love, a lot of people get mad at Pythagoras because he believed that the masses didn't deserve to know knowledge, have upper wisdom. And I'm going to say that you cast your pearls before swine. Oh, the trivium of the trivium. Yeah. Trivium is deep, man. But, Pythagoras I love the drive of Pythagoras. He was, if you look at this Pythagoras, the oracle said that he was a Jesus character. The oracle said that he was going to come back and save his people, that, he was a child of God, and that he was a son of God. Pythagoras is a Jesus character, actually. He follows that similar lines. But Pythagoras, what I do like about him, he went to Asia and learned. He went to the Sumerians and the Babylonians to learn their secret knowledge. He went to Egypt to learn its secret knowledge. It took him 20 years to get into the school of Akhenaten. But he went to gather knowledge, and then as he gathered that knowledge, he put it together. I know a lot of people like to say that he stole it, but he gathered it because he wanted to take it back to his home and inspire the Greek people to uplift their consciousness, their mindset, which is why he started his Pythagorean schools. Now, later, a lot of his information got flipped on people, as most things do. Those who see a power in it, and even Pythagoras saw a power in keeping the knowledge to himself and just his small group of people. But you had to take like a year of silence to be a part. I think it was a year. It's either a year or 5 years of silence where all you did was study and you didn't speak. Now, I want you to think about that. How many people have studied for like 6 months and now they got talking? I know Kevin said something about similar to this earlier today, but they studied for a minute and now they think they know something. They haven't taken the time to get deep inside this. There's a guy, Gary Vaynerchuk. He teaches about marketing, right? One of the things I love about Gary is that he tells people you need to just shut up, that for 5 years you need to beat on your craft, build your business, do your thing before you start talking and running your mouth. I get that. And the trivium will teach you that, because the trivium is like, you got to sit down. You got to think about stuff. You got to research and gather way more information than you're ever going to give out before you start talking. That's why there's certain subjects I don't really talk about. People were talking about astrology earlier. I don't really talk about astrology because I've been spending the last year and a half gathering information about astrology. I don't talk about tarot cards because I've been gathering information on it. I know a lot. I do know a lot about magic, dark magic, white magic, but I don't really talk about it because it scared the hell out of most of y'all. But and then I realized that a lot of the magic stuff, the Keys of Solomon and scrying and all those things, they fall into the understanding of the Hermetics. I just stay with the Hermetics because that's just extra stuff. But I know some people will gravitate hugely to that. I watched a lady who, I could have just as many subscribers as her if I focused in on just talking about doing magic spells instead of telling you how the trivium and how the Hermetics work. But her magic spells are basically kind of sort of telling you, but giving you that fluffy. But I ain't got time for fluffy. Let's see. I must read and see more videos about the trivium because I was lost. And that's the thing. Fortunately for me, I was about 12 the first time I started being taught the trivium. I didn't really have a good grasp of it. Now, and because I was 12, I'm pretty sure if I was older, Shondell's an adult. When I was 12, I had a 12-year-old mind. I didn't really start having a full grasp of the trivium until I was about 21. Right? 21 is when I really started getting the trivium. Right? Now, I was working it a little bit, getting better as a kid, but, I still had influences, But it was later that I really started understanding trivium and then was able to just really grow from there. Um, but you're an adult. You'll get it. You'll get it faster than I did because you're already an adult and you already have a good open mind. But before, when people want to say, "Oh, I want to read this book, I want to read that book," I encourage people to understand the trivium first, so that you know how. Because even though I read ISIS papers, I had to read it, but with a mindset of the trivium when I read it, because a lot of people can read the ISIS papers, and then when they come out of it, they come out racist, right? But to me, it was an oxymoron to be conscious and racist at the same time. How can I be? Then my conscious level is still not raised up. It's still lower. All right. Now, it doesn't mean, that's why understanding the law of mentalism and the divine paradox within the law of mentalism is the fact that race doesn't exist, but yet it does exist. It doesn't exist on the higher planes of understanding, but it exists on this third dimensional, fourth dimensional mental plane, this physical plane, because that's how what we have created and how society functions. So you have to function within society, but function outside of society. And yes, that creates a divine paradox, a mental paradox. I couldn't understand that when I first, before I really had a grasp of this trivium, because I had to bring pieces in to get it, to put it together, to get that understanding, and then to come to the rhetoric, the knowledge of it, the wisdom of it. And then you can do that in everything, anything in business, anything in life, relationships, all those things, you do it. All right. Now we are 6 minutes over. So we are getting ready to shut this down. You know why? Because it is 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, and there's some things that I want to do. And plus, we have a family meeting. I have a family meeting to go to as well, and pick up my daughter from work. So I can only do one chapter of the ISIS paper too. I haven't read the ISIS paper since 1990, 91. And I would say I'm gonna go back and read it, but I'm probably not. I'm probably not gonna read that one. I am getting ready. I was given this book, The Pale Horse. I'm gonna read that book. See what that one is. Thanks for that. And so, but I appreciate you guys. I don't want Shay to come out here and be mad at me because I got her locked away so that she doesn't, like, y'all don't hear extra noises. But yes, this was a great talk. We are gonna. I promise I'm gonna do a lot more live videos because I really enjoy this, and I haven't talked to Kevin today. So, but hey, if you guys don't watch Kevin, go watch Kevin tonight. I'm probably going to call in on Kevin's show. I don't even know what we're talking about, but it never really matters to me. I just like talking, and we can always figure out a way to talk. So you guys have a great day. I look forward to those who are going to join us tonight around 8 o'clock on Kevin's show. So please join us over there. Everybody who gave me a super chat, I really, really appreciate that. That like warms my heart and everything. I really, 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 really appreciate it. I really do. I really do. I really do. And I look forward to our next talk, because there's a lot more subjects. And sometimes we just gonna talk and just let it be free. Just talk about whatever comes up. Whatever comes up doesn't even matter. I don't even know what title. Just be Q&A or something like that. And definitely want to do some business talks. I'm going to talk about creating this situation where people can build here in America, build in Haiti, build in Botswana. Really, because in order for the conscious community to grow, in order for us to grow, we have to get we got to get some land and business foundation. And I'll go watch the Infinity War video that me and Shay did. I caught her off guard. We were stuck in traffic. So, and guess what? She kept telling me that, oh, I don't like video. I'm not good on video. I don't want to be. And she's been getting comments of, hey, you have her on more and that sort of thing. So, and I'm going to do some more conscious reviews for the Infinity War movie and other movies here. But if you just want some fun, me just being one of my characters that's in my brain, my schizophrenic self, Jeb, What the Hell with Jeb, subscribe to that page, please. Subscribe to What the Hell with Jeb. I'll do more of my fun, just breaking down movies and just in a way that's just about the movie. All the esoteric stuff will be over here. All right. So y'all have a great day. Remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself. Why? Because your greatness is non-negotiable. And I see you guys tonight. See you guys tonight on Kevin's show. And I see you the next time we have a live chat. All right. Peace.